once you have a social security net, which is so sophisticated, like in Europe, where whatever you do, if you fail, you will always have enough to eat, you will have a place to sleep, you will have access to the media, you will have transportation, and this is guaranteed for everyone. So there's no way in most European countries how you can get to a point where you really have to collect your food from the trash can and sleep under the bridge. I mean, there is people who are doing it, but that's because of choice. That's not because of the system. The system provides enough so that everyone can have a decent living. And once you are in such a system, you don't have to improvise, and you don't have to sort of make sure that you find some way by yourself to make money. And if you don't get a job, you start a company and then you just do it. And this is why Israel, for example, is such a prolific startup nation with thousands and thousands of startups, because they're isolated in a country that does not really have resources except what's in the brain of people. And then if you don't have a job, you start your own company, and then you do something, and then you make money somehow and make a living. So this is some kind of a mindset which is more or less, that's at least my assumption, incompatible with a very dense social net. I'm not suggesting we should sort of eliminate our social security, which we have in Europe, but we should at least encourage places where there's a lot of money, like, for example, the pension funds, to invest into this asset class of venture capital, which, as you know, is also in most European countries is not the case. In the US, a certain percentage of the pension funds goes into venture capital, and these are amounts of money which are beyond imagination. Right? It's a huge amount of money, and this money is not available in Europe, not at all. And also, it's about critical mass. So in the United States, there's if you want to do biotech, there's 2 places or 3 or 4 places maximum where you can do this. It's Boston, it's San Francisco, it's maybe New York, it's maybe San Diego, but that's it. These are very thin layers at the East and West Coast. Everything else is tier 2 or tier 3. But these very thin strips at the East and West Coast, which, by the way, more than 70% of the entrepreneurs and company owners were not born in the United States, are supporting this entire ecosystem with wealth. And this is a situation which in Europe is not compatible with a federalistic mindset, where everyone is supposed to have the same and where wealth is supposed to be distributed equally, more or less. This means, this was also what came back to us when we had won this leading edge cluster competition in Heidelberg, where we said, now that we had this ignition with the 80 million, what's next? Is there another follow-up grant to make those 5 regions, or in the end it was 15 regions, even better and support them even more? They said, no, you had just, now we put into the rural areas. And this is a situation where you generate a disease which I call fragmentitis. So Europe is has fragmentitis. Europe has this disease called fragmentitis. So everything is highly fragmented because every little village wants its own biotech cluster and wants to get support, which does not work. A government, even a society like United States, which is very much focused on elites, can only afford one, what I call world-class cluster per 20 million inhabitants. World-class cluster is a place that's on the top 10 list of the top students of the world where they want to pursue a career and be creative. So translate that to Germany, 80 million inhabitants, there can only be 4 places where the government puts all the money in order to generate something like a Silicon Valley. It's never going to happen in Europe. So it's distributed evenly, and it's like there's nowhere is critical mass.
Centralized, yeah, that's fragmentitis, as you rightly
fragmented. I mean, there's a little difference in France, because France, for example, is a very centralized country, but still in Paris, there is not enough critical mass to be in the top or to be on the top 10 list of the top students of the world where they want to pursue a career. So there is a couple of places in Europe that could have a chance, like London and Paris, maybe also Berlin when it comes to digital health. But all subcritical when you compare it to Boston.
That's so insightful, Christian, because I've always liked to believe that, once you have your basic necessities guaranteed by the system, everyone should be an entrepreneur because you have the capacity to take risk, but it's the otherwise.
Opposite is the opposite because there's no necessity, right? There is no risk that you will really, really fall to the bottom of the pyramid and need to pick your food from the trash can.